Good morning everybody, good morning everybody. I have been very excited to carry on with the E30. It's been a while since I've done the last video, and that's just because there's been so much ongoing behind the scenes. I've got a load of goodies laid out in front of us, and I fixed a lot of problems which were going to be a big issue. So first of all, let's show you what we've got in front of us.
But first of all, we need to go back a week.
Well, we're down here at Gaz Shocks again. I remember when the first few times I came to Gaz, they were like, look, if you ever need to use anything, never need to bond anything, come down, we'll help you out. And I've definitely been taking that request to the extent, probably sick of seeing me here now. So we're actually down here, we've been dropping off our, subframe to Harry. Harry's going to be welding on some camber adjusting subframe. We brought our knuckle down, because what we're going to do is, we're going to thin out the knuckle, we're going to weld something between here and make it thin so it definitely clears the manifold. So we've just got some rod there, taking it down and putting it on the lathe. We've got a diff here as well, and we're going to weld up the diff. So we're going to take off this section, I'm going to clean it out, and then Harry's going to teach me how to weld.
Now this is going to be a drift car, and all it's going to be doing is driving sideways, so we're going to be welding the diff. So first of all, we split it, clean it, and then we want to find a nice big chunk of metal to weld to the gears. Now I've been really trying to get better at welding recently, so having someone around who's good at welding to watch what you're doing wrong is great. So Harry tacked it in, I did the rest, and this is what it came out like. It's good and it's bloody strong.
Lovely, oh yeah. If your diff doesn't do this, you're a pussy. So we're going to leave the steering knuckles with Harry. Harry's going to do them. He's going to put, where's the rods? This is the rods. So it's going to be the thickness of that and not the thickness of that. So if we compare them, it's going to be a lot thinner, which hopefully should give us a bit more clearance.
So basically I'm welding camber and toe adjusters into the rear where the swing arm mounts onto the subframe. Right. So you can adjust the camber and the toe of the car.
So they've got no standard camber or toe?
It's just a fixed on, there's no adjustment from standard.
Right, that's pretty shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So when you lower them, do they camber in a lot?
So when you lower them, they camber in, and that's why sometimes people buy this kit, because you can get the camber looking normal again.
Right, okay.
Because otherwise it will be like...
So you sell this kit?
Yeah.
And you can fit it to people's if they want it as well?
Yeah, sort of.
I don't think you want me to say that, but you can.
E30s are notorious for having weak subframes at the rear, and as Harry explained, they also have no camber and no toe adjustment. So Harry made this kit, so we obviously had to get him to do it to our E30.
This is the camber kit. There's two of these. One goes on either side, and then we weld them to this bracket. And then the original holes get elongated to match that hole. And then this camber bolt just moves the swinging arm up or down, or forward or back for the toe. And then he's welded on the strengthening plates for the diff. And what's the reason? What happens with these? What's the reason for these? Just where the bolts are, it's quite thin, so that sometimes the metal can just tear or just completely come off. Right.
You're going to take it home, clean it up, and then get it welded, and then I'm going to be a very lucky guy. Thanks, Harry.
That's alright.
I feel like I'm being presented a present here. Look at the nice box as well. Put his Instagram on the screen. If you want anything, he can actually make things as well. So if he doesn't actually have them, he can make stuff for you as well. So thank you. And then this is the steering knuckle, which is way thinner. So let's compare that to your one. So this is the standard one, which we was hitting, and this is our one. So it's a lot thinner, and hopefully we shouldn't hit the manifold. So here we have our new arms. If you remember me saying that the old arms on the car had hub brakes, drum brakes. So these are our new arms which you've got from Adam. I've got a load of spare parts from Adam, and he's been a lifesaver when it comes to getting parts. So here's our new disc trailing arms. So these Obviously I have a disc and a caliper, not a drum brake. And I ordered a strengthening kit because we're going true coilovers. We've got some custom coilovers, some gas, and they're true coilovers, meaning we've not got a spring, we have a coilover going onto the hub. So we strengthened all these arms, I welded these, they've got all their bushes out because we've got powerflex bushes to go with everything. And here is our new subframe. So this is the old subframe off the car. We've got toe adjustment and camber adjustment. I can't remember which one's which, but toe adjustment and camber adjustment on each side. And he strengthened the whole subframe. So you can see we've got gussets here, gussets. We have this whole plate welded on here, strengthening all the bolt holes, and Harry's done all that. So thank you so much, Harry from Resto Fab. He's actually put a nice little touch on here as well. He's got my name welded in here and then R-Fab welded there. So got a set of powerflex bushes. Obviously powerflex bushes are amazing for two main reasons really. One is it stops vibrations and it stiffens up everything in the rear. And two, they're 10 times easier to install than normal bushes. You don't have to press these in. You just push these in from either side, pop the bush in the middle, and you're good to go. So we're gonna firstly get all of this built up. The subframe, the arm, the diff back in the car, which is here, which we've got welded. So the diff is now welded as well. And we've also got new drive shafts as well from Adam to fit these as well. So let's get all the rear back into the car, all bolted up, all sorted. We're gonna get the engine back in as well because we've got something made there which we'll get onto. So we're gonna get the engine back in the car. We've got the prop shafts over there. We just need to get them lengthened. We're not that far off. We've got all the brake line stuff. We're gonna make all custom brake lines. I've already ordered all that. I want to get this car on the road, so let's get cracking. Get our powerflex trailing arm bushes in. The good thing about powerflex as well is that their website is really easy to use because obviously lots of times people name things different things. They name arms, trailing arms, and blah 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 blah, camber arms, toe arms, all this kind of stuff, and it does get a bit confusing. So if you go on the powerflex website, they literally have a diagram of a car, and then you click which bush you need, and then it gives you the different options. So we've got purple because I've had black series on other cars, and it is it's pretty intense. So the purple is going to be perfect for our application. So this is literally how easy to install a powerflex bush. We get one side, we pop it in, and we pop it in through. Maybe sometimes you need a little bit of let me get a mallet. Boom, and that's our bush installed. Subframe bushes as well. So what we're going to do is we put these, this side goes in from the bottom. Make sure we grease this up well.
Now it can be tricky to put arms back on when you've got new bushes in, so just take your time, look at the instruction on the Powerflex website. Don't be afraid to get some mallets out. Usually 9 times out of 10 you've got to get them close to the hole and stick a screwdriver in and try to just pull it to where it needs to be. It's tough, but it's not too bad.
We've actually got a diff bush as well from Powerflex. I need to change the diff bush, but first of all we've got to get the diff bush out. So I've got a recip saw here with the wrong blade because I haven't got the right blade, but we're going to give it a go.
So you want to kind of break up the rubber holding in the center of the bush. This is going to make the outside of the bush a lot weaker. So I just use a recip saw to cut through the rubber.
Knock the center out.
And then use a hammer and a chisel to kind of bend the metal in on itself in the outer ring.
Boom, easy as that. Get wrecked.
And then the same thing again with all the other bushes. Give it some lube and just pop them in from each side.
Getting this diff in has been an absolute pain because the bolt holes are literally just tiny bits off. Because the bolt is literally the perfect size of the hole. If it's not lined up perfectly, it doesn't thread in. So I've literally just got to make the bolt hole a bit bigger. The first two were hard enough to get in, and now the bottom two are doing it as well. Then you've got to hold the diff at a right fucking angle.
Now after almost completely ruining the threads on the diff, I've took it off, re-tapped it, and we finally got it back on.
I've literally just saw something that might ruin my night. What if I've got to take the arms off to get the drive shafts in? No. Oh. There we go. Yes. Thank God. Yeah, beautiful.
So I decided to build up the whole subframe while it's out of the car, just for access for the drive shaft bolts and things like that. It's going to be a bit more difficult with the weight of the whole thing putting it in, but I thought it was the right choice to make. I don't know, maybe, we'll see.
Oh. Now this is also when our custom gas coilovers are going on. These are twin adjustable two-way coilovers. These are like one of the best that Gaz do. In fact, they actually do an even better one, which has an external reservoir. But these are, honestly, I cannot thank Gaz so much for making these custom coilovers for this E30. They raced E30s. Gaz coilovers actually can do you any custom one you want, so you don't just order a set. You basically message Gaz, you tell them what the car's for, if you require different spring rates, blah blah blah, and they make you a custom set of coilovers for that exact application. So I've told Gaz that I'm going to be going true coilovers at the rear. I've told Gaz it's going to have a V8 in it. I've told him it's going to be drifting. So they've made these specific coilovers for them. So they've put heavier duty springs on the front to take some of the weight off the front, and I don't know, use their wizardry. I'm not a strut maker, but I can't wait to put these on.
Now, I was lucky enough to go down to Gaz and actually watch my coilovers being made, and just to see how much in-house they do and how much they do by hand. Now, E30s have a single unit on the front, meaning the hub is actually attached and welded to the strut from factory. So Gaz had to source a second hand of struts to make my front pair of struts. So the first thing is to remove the hub before they can actually start making my shock up. Now, their Gaz Golds are their racing shock, and this is what I've got for the E30. Every single Gaz Gold has to be cut and made on the lathe by hand. Now, sadly, we couldn't film the whole process, but you can just see how much effort just goes into making the body of the shock. I can only imagine what goes into the rest.
Not yet, no.
Whoa, look at these beauties.
There you go.
What? Are they twin adjustable?
Yeah.
Oh!
Now, because we're going to a true coilover setup, obviously on the E30 you meant to have a strut, and you meant to have a spring. That's why we reinforced the arms as well, because we're changing the loading point of where it was naturally meant to be. Now, similar again, the only thing that potentially is a worry about true coilovers is that obviously you're putting all the loading point now on the same strut tower where it was spread. So Resto Fab, Harry, again, he has sent these strengthening plates, strengthening flanges. So we're going to put these on top of the coilover, or well on top of the body, and it's just going to spread the weight a little bit more, thicken up that loading point.
Now, I'm not going to lie, trying to get the subframe on my own was an absolute nightmare. There was so much going back and forth. Obviously, because we've got a lot stiffer bushes in there now, everything's just tighter and nothing has any play whatsoever. So trying to line up the studs to the subframe was just really difficult. I had to use multiple different jacks, and I spent a lot of energy running around.
I'm starting to get annoyed now because nothing's lining up properly. To put this over the subframe, but these two bolt holes here have to line up perfectly through the sill, right? But for some reason, they're just not. I'm absolutely miles off. Right, I'm gonna have to make the holes in the sill a little bit bigger. Right, I've got them in, but honestly I am sick of having to just keep fabbing things and like changing things. It does really annoy me. Okay, the subframe is all in. Bit of a bar steward, but we got it in, thank God. Now we're going to go to the whiteboard. Now one of the comments in the last video actually said you should get a whiteboard to track your progress. So I actually bought a whiteboard. Thank you, that guy in the comments. It was actually a really good idea. Sorry it's a bit dark here, there's no light in here, but this is just temporary living space for the whiteboard. So here are all the jobs that we've got to do on the E30, and it actually looks like quite a lot, to be fair. But there's actually not, because most of them are just things that I need to finish off. So rear subframe, bushes, diff,
That can go, rear subframe, that has been done. Rear arms, drive shafts, that's in. Bushes, diff, that is in. So that is all done as well. So one thing we need to do, and we're going to do next, are the next two. Steering knuckle in and the engine in. So we've actually modified the steering knuckle, and we've got, again, Resto Fab from Gaz, who has helped. And we've made up a custom steering knuckle to hopefully get around the manifold. So these two can go together because we can only know it's going to fit once the engine's in. We're going to give you a little bit more of a rundown as well of what we've got left to do. Next thing is the gearbox tunnel cut. So we're going to cut out the whole gearbox tunnel inside the car. This is going to allow us to put the gearbox in the car without hammering and dropping it down. We're just going to cut the whole gearbox tunnel off, put it up, and then fit it afterwards. And we could probably do like a bolt-in gearbox tunnel. That means if we ever have to get the gearbox out or do any gearbox work, we can literally just bolt the tunnel outside the car and just take everything off instead of messing around. Brake line and hydro and clutch lines. Okay, so oh yeah, we need to do the brakes for the rear brakes. We need to get them, put them on. Okay, brake line, hydro and clutch line. So we've ordered all copper lines and we've ordered all the fittings. We just need to run all the lines to the thing. So we need to do it to the hydro, to the back brakes, and then to the front brakes and the clutch line as well. We'll probably do the clutch line when the gearbox is actually in. Well, duh. Gearbox in, another one. Measure, prop and balance. So once the gearbox in, we've actually got two prop shafts. We've actually got an E39 prop shaft and we've got an E30 prop shaft. So we're going to make one out of two, but we've got to measure that, so we need to have the gearbox in for that. Cover the wells underneath. So remember we did the welding underneath the car. We just need to put some sealant under there or some whatever. Wire the fuel pumps to the ignition. These are all little things. Wire the fuel pumps to the ignition. Right now, obviously, they're just to the switch, so we're going to put them to ignition. Weld the rear arms. We've actually done that, so we can cross that off. Weld the cage. Harry's going to come and do that. And weld and make a radiator bracket. That's literally all that's left for the car. There's actually really not much at all. So let's crack on and let's get this engine back in and pray that that steering knuckle actually goes around the manifold now. So here is the new steering knuckle, as you can see. It's been chopped in the middle and it's a lot thinner, so that should clear the manifold. And also what we had to do is, it's on the steering rack right now, so I was just test fitting it. I actually had to, there was what they call a key spline, and that's like a locator spline. We had to grind that out. I had to die grind that out so it'd go over the steering rack. So that's on there now and that's all on. So what we've got to do, we've got to bolt the steering rack up and then we're going to drop the engine in. Okay, so this could be a bit fiddly. I'm hoping, I pray to God that there we go. I pray to God that this clears the steering, the manifold. That was my hammer. Not much of a hammer, but it was working as a hammer. Two M6 bolts here. And these are going to go through the rack, so we'll put that like that. Get a washer on there. The rack's all in, all bolted down. Let's put the engine in, let's pray it's going to get around there. Oh my God. If it doesn't, we're going to have to do something crazy, but I hope it does. I hope it does. Because I need to see if this steering knuckle fits, because this has been the biggest faff around, to be fair. The fact that the engine won't go in the car with the steering attached. It's still hitting. In fact, it's hitting more now than before, which I have no idea how it's possible because it's smaller, but it's hitting way more than it was. I've got like 4 washers on there, so it's like lifted the engine up an inch or so, if that, half an inch maybe. I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. I don't understand how this is such a common swap, but there's no information on the steering racks anywhere. Like, there's a company that make adaptation plates and blah 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 blah, but there's no company that makes steering rack. So people have done this. How the fuck have they got around the steering column? No idea what to do. I spent so much time on that steering column as well. It's really disheartening. But this is just holding up too much of the build now. So I'm literally half tempted just to cut the manifold. It is just a really shit situation because I can't go any further. I can't go any further. I can't put the gearbox on. I just can't do anything else because if the engine has to come out to fix this, then I've just got more work to do, so I can't do anything, and it's really starting to piss me off now. But I honestly can't see any other, and it's not even like I can just say, oh, we'll take the manifold off, fuck it, we'll deal with it later. I can't do that, because then it's the same thing. I can't put a manifold on with all the engine in. I've got to take the engine out to do the manifolds. So it's just stopping me doing absolutely anything.
I can get to the point where if I lift the engine up with enough of those spacers, it clears, but then there's no way in hell I'm going to get the gearbox on. The only thing I'm going to have to do is just take that manifold off and chop it. I've realised that it's not cast, so we can weld it, but I'm going to have to just chop the end of the manifold off. I've got no other option, and I can spend days and days and days trying to shim it and put it here and cut strings and drill things, and it just might just be a waste of time, and it's just going to be another issue if ever I take the engine out. So I'm going to take the engine out again, and I'm just going to chop that manifold because there's fucking nothing I can do about it, and I'm going to either need to chop where I think it needs to be cut and then put it in the car and see where we need to go with the pipes, or just try to make something myself with the MIG welder. So let's take it out, let's chop it, because I'm sick of wasting fucking time. I chopped the manifold off, fuck it. It's going to be a nightmare because obviously the lambda sensor goes in there as well, but I've honestly got no other option. This cannot stay, so I'm chopping it, I'm sending it, and I don't even care. What I've decided to do is live by the motto which I live by. If you want something doing properly, well, let's be straight. I don't do things properly. If you want something that works, do it yourself. So I've chopped this manifold and I've thought, I can do this. I actually can do this. It's not going to be pretty, and it's probably not going to be the best for flow. But in terms of time and stuff, it's best if I just do it. And I thought, I can probably do this. I've one in the back, and we've got a load of pipe. And I'm going to give this a go, because that's what we're all about here. This isn't cast. I don't think this is cast, so I think we can easily weld to this. So first of all, I found this, which is like a 1 3/4 inch. Now it's obviously it's too small for the rest of the exhaust, but the manifold's in 2/2 anyway, and it's literally this diameter. That is like the perfect diameter. See? Boom. So I know that I can do that bit easy. I can weld that onto there and then do something like this, but I don't know how to join it to another bigger bit. I don't know how to do that. I know we're going to have to kind of do some things like this with hole saws and things, but I don't know that. But that's a tomorrow job. Today's job is just figuring out how to do it. So I'm actually going to tack this bit onto here like this, and that bit onto there, and see if it just clears the steering rack. That's literally what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get the welder, and we're just going to just do a tack there. Obviously it's going to go something. This is going to come down in, and it's going to hug the gearbox like this. That one's going to come straight down here and just hug the gearbox. And then this one, we can get some more, but this is just the excess. We can put that there, and then we can find a way of how to join those two together and come out here. I'm actually excited about doing this as well. It's good to challenge yourself sometimes. Okay, so something like that. So if I actually take my time and did welds and grinded it down, it would actually look quite good. I was just figuring out I obviously just need to figure out how the hell you would put them into one. You gonna go with exhaust, Gazza?
No.
Welder's really nice actually.
Yeah. Good, you can make good welder out with a grinder.
You're doing that weld now.
Look at that, Gazza. You can barely tell that's welded, mate.
Oh, well done.
We've dropped the engine in. God, yeah, plenty of room. If I just did that in the fucking first place,
You would have been saved 8 hours.
I would have saved weeks. So she did, and she's missing.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got plenty of room. Plenty of room.
No.
To clear. Should have done that in the fucking... If you want a job doing properly, do it yourself. I say this to myself, but I never listen to myself. So that clears. Like, the way it is now, it clears. And we can actually just put some more washers on to get even more... clearance, which is amazing. So all I've got to do now is figure out how to join this pipe into this pipe. Might need a little bit more just to extend this. So if I can just extend this a little bit, we need to chop a hole in here and then figure out that. And the only problem is the lambda sensor isn't that long, so I've got to probably have to extend the lambda sensor wires, and then have to run the lambda sensor down here somewhere underneath. But that's going to work. So I'm happy about that, and I get to learn some welding as well.